So welcome to our September Book Academy, everybody. It's wonderful to see everyone here, and we are going back to school. Who's looking forward to it? Yay! Thank you. Some reactions there. Ooh, back to school. If it's anything like the kids starting back at college this week, they're sort of like, oh, college. I've probably been the most excitable one of everybody. So, but I've enjoyed it so far. So shortly we'll be separating out into our groups. Bruce has already chosen the group that he's going to join because he wasn't here for the allocation of groups last time. Sally, as you weren't here last time, you have the choice of Treacle Walker by Alan Garner, The Owl Service by Alan Garner, The Velveteen Rabbit by Margery Williams, or Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorian. Have you read any of those?
I haven't read Goodnight Mr. Tom, but I've seen the dramatisation of it. So I'll definitely go for Goodnight Mr. Tom.
You're going to go for that one. Okay, it's a popular choice. But before we go there, I have been looking around for a couple of interviews of things that were talking about children's books and why they're important for adults to read. And I found a really nice one by Catherine Rundell, who started saying how important it is to read children's literature, not just for children, but for adults. We haven't got time for the entire sort of 14-20 minutes of her interview, but I just thought I'd start you off. And she is a winner of the Costa Children's Book Award for The Explorer, which I've had to read a couple of times in school, and it's very beautiful descriptions of rainforest, and the children really enjoy reading this as well. So I think it's definitely one that adults should be reading, not just children. So I'm going to hit play. It is audio, so there isn't a video, but if you could switch yourselves on to mute, and that way you won't get any background noise with the sound. I won't switch myself on mute like I tried to do last time, because then you won't hear what's playing. So can also give me a thumbs up that you can hear it clearly.
It's to the best of our knowledge. I'm Anne Strangeshamps. Some of us have been having trouble reading lately. It's like the pleasure, the magic is gone. Writer Catherine Rundell has a solution.
Right across the U.S.
We're in the middle of a global pandemic, and I think you should be reading children's books right now.
The U.S.
Children's books are books that traffic in hope and in possibility. They are books which give you a sense of the world as being colossal. Children's books say to you, hope matters, love matters. Children's books will not ever pontificate or self-congratulate, because children will not wait while they do so. Children's books have to be a distillation. They are a distillation of our most vulnerable heart, of our hopes and of our dreams. They're a kind of literary vodka. And right now, in the middle of the pandemic, I think we have never needed literary vodka more.
Remember what it felt like when a book could sweep you away in the very first sentence? Catherine Rundell writes books like that, adventure stories for children. She's also a literary scholar at All Souls College, Oxford, and she believes that no matter how old and wise you think you are, you should be reading children's books. And I totally agree.
So I write adventure stories, often unlikely adventure stories, where children are sent on wild quests. And so Rooftopers is about a girl who discovers that her mother, who she thought had drowned in a shipwreck might in fact be in Paris. And so she discovers a gang of children who live up on the rooftops of Paris, this wild secret life, and they shoot pigeons with bows and arrows and leap from rooftop to rooftop. So this is just the opening of it. On the morning of its first birthday, a baby was found floating in a cello case in the middle of the English Channel. It was the only living thing for miles, just the baby and some dining room chairs, and the tip of a ship disappearing into the ocean. There had been music in the dining hall, and it was music so loud and so good that nobody had noticed the water flooding in over the carpet. The violins went on soaring for some time after the screaming had begun. Sometimes the shriek of a passenger would duet with a high C. The baby was found wrapped for warmth in the musical score of a Beethoven symphony. It had drifted almost a mile from the ship and was the last to be rescued. The man who lifted it into the rescue boat was a fellow passenger and a scholar. It is a scholar's job to notice things. He noticed that it was a girl with hair the colour of lightning and the smile of a shy person. Think of nighttime with a speaking voice, or think how moonlight might talk, or think of ink if ink had vocal cords. Give those things a narrow aristocratic face with hooked eyebrows and long arms and legs, and that is what the baby saw as she was lifted out of her cello case and up into safety. His name was Charles Maxim, and he determined, as he held her in his large hands at arm's length as he would a leafy flower pot, that he would keep her.
So I'm going to pause that there because it's I think it makes your imagination just go wild. The thought of actually envisaging those things that we see visually as having a voice. And I just thought it was a beautiful description of her book called The Rooftoppers, which I haven't read, so it's on my list to read. But I have put into the chat the name of those two books and the link for that interview, and also on that link it has a cut down version of the transcript as well, so if you didn't want to listen to it and you wanted to have a read of it, it's got the questions and answers in there as well, so it's a really great listen. So without any further ado, I'm going to put you into your breakout rooms. It's going to take me a couple of minutes to assign you because I know where you're going, so please take yourselves off mute and chat, hopefully about children's books or what you just heard, or if you have read anything by Catherine Rundell, or whatever you feel like. I don't mind.
Well, just picking up what's been put in the chat room, and Jerry Stravies asked a favour. So, Jerry, do you want people to email you first?
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Jerry.
Yes, so like I said in this, I'm having the website revamped to make it a marketing platform where people can actually either buy their ebooks directly from me, where I keep more money, or they can buy the books from Amazon or other platforms. That's where this thing is going. But it's been totally redone. And if you all could look at it from a potential reader standpoint and give me your feedback on it before I move a lot further with it, I would like to know, because I value your opinion. It certainly doesn't have to be done now because I don't want to interfere with the program now, but when you have time to look at it, that would be wonderful.
Are you going to share the website address? Because I've just done a quick Google, I couldn't find it. So
I didn't give it to you.
Yeah,
how clever.
Thanks, David, because I thought I was having a brain fog because I couldn't see the website address.
Yeah, can you give it at the end, Jerry, so that people don't do it during our book academy time? Oh, too late there.
So
fine.
yes, I really need your input. I've got some challenges that I'm having with the developers, and I would like to hear from you all first before I jump on them.
Okay. And we'll put that in the notes as well when we send the report out for those who watch the recording. Okay, that's cool.
So I'm ready to go. I can't see Eleanor anymore, so I'm hoping she's around, maybe just taking herself off the screen. There she is. She's eating. She's learnt from you not
well done.
Yay. So we're about to go into our breakout rooms now. Eleanor, you're with me and David. I'm not quite so fussy about it because we want to see you. And you will be talking very hard to talk and eat. So I'm going to send you off to your rooms now. We will come back at 19:40, so 20 to 8. So see you all on the other side.
Okay.
Hello again.
Just quickly finishing my chicken Kiev. I do apologise.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, how are you all doing?
Good.
Jerry's eating as well.
Huh?
Jerry's eating as well.
You were eating as well, were you?
I'm always eating during our meetings, and your mother gets so annoyed with me.
She does. She hates it. And now she's trying to close the curtains with all the boxes.
Yeah.
You knocking things over again, Mother?
Probably.
So, lady, how are you feeling these days?
I'm feeling very well, actually, on a physical side. So doing some painting of painting and decorating, not creative painting, and putting lots of things in boxes as we plan to move so that we can remodel the house a bit. So that's all good, but anything in front of the computer is still pretty difficult.
Yeah. You just got to give yourself time though, haven't you, lady?
I think so, yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Are you noticing any improvements?
Oh yes, huge improvements. Yeah.
I'm nodding.
I mean, you look very well.
Thank you.
You do. You do. Have you sort of thought about, like not sort of trying to go and sit straight away in front of your desktop, but just to start looking at things on the phone or
he's not sitting in front of that at all.
Oh, right.
I.e. Abbey Rose is right there now.
That's why I'm here. None of that. I'm going to move us on because we are already behind schedule. And I did forget to mention that we need to describe per group, but I'm hoping somebody took charge per group. So I'm going to start off. We're going to go to room 1, which was Goodnight Mr. Tom. So who was allocated the scribe? Bruce, Candice, Jerry, and Sally.
And Candice, is that yours?
It was my group. But Sally and Jerry did very well with talking, so I'm going to nicely volunteer somebody else other than me.
I mean, I have to say, Jerry, we're so busy talking, we didn't actually take any notes, but it's, we were, first of all, weren't we? We were comparing like who's read the book and watched the drama, who's either done just one. And Jerry and Candice, you'd watched the drama and read the book. Jerry, you just read the book. Bruce, you just read the book, and I've just seen the drama. And what we would prefer to do, would we prefer to do both? And both Jerry and Candice said they liked the fact that they'd read the book and then seen the drama. And perhaps then that the drama wasn't as dark as the book. Jerry, do you want to chip in, my dear? I don't want to hog it.
Yeah, I think more or less just that the drama was good, but it's not as deep, obviously, as the book is, and we felt like certain parts of the dramatization kind of weren't as rich, as I say, or as deep with the characters and the backdrop as in the book. So in the book, I found very emotional in places and quite rich. I enjoyed the dramatization as well. It was just different experience, I guess. Yeah, but it was really good read. Really enjoyed it. I'm glad I have, because I've never read it before, so I'm glad I came up for a Book Academy this month. It was quite an enriching read.
You were saying as well, Jerry, weren't you, that you weren't expecting it to be quite so long or quite so
I thought, kids'
as a children's book.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a real tome, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and Candice, you were saying, I mean, you read this, and Bruce as well at 12 years of age on the school syllabus, which
yeah,
we were a little bit shocked at. Wow.
Yeah, we were gobsmacked, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. It became one of my favorite books as well at that time, because it was really deep and hard hitting, but it was actually a really good book, and it's very well written, which I don't think we actually discussed either, did we, really, on that side of it? From my point of view, I enjoyed it. I think, Bruce, you weren't too keen on it, were you, with the book? It was, you got the different sides of it there as well, but it was, I do love the book, and it's one of those ones which you go back to, and it can, I mean, it's if I'm very emotional, it's one of those books which I go to because I know it'll make me cry, and I can just get the emotions out and say it's that book.
I think Jerry Stravey had some good insights into the writing style and how it brought it to another level. Jerry, you were saying with the nursing scene afterwards. I don't want to ruin it. I haven't read it. Oh yeah.
Jerry, did you want to comment on the writing?
Yeah, I enjoyed the book. I told the group, from being in America and seeing what looked to me like an idyllic village, it was entertaining to see the interaction in the community and how they were so supportive and what have you. It's kind of like mid America too, but it was very charming, I thought. And then being ripped out of that charm into the reality of what that poor young man had experienced, of coming from that dysfunctional home, and then one tragedy after another, having to go back to the situation and then losing his friend. It was just quite a story, and I thought it was not a very young story because it was really kind of rough, but I thoroughly enjoyed the writing style. I felt very much immersed into it, engaged. I thought the writer did some wonderful things, the way that she transitioned the story, and here the one showing the boy that he was not responsible for his infant sister's death.
Yeah,
and I thought she did that so well. And anyway, that's my input.
Good. It still is on the year 5, 6, so 10, 11-year-old syllabus in schools now, and many schools still get the children to read it, and they tend to read it and watch the film as an end of term treat. Because they get to watch a movie still at the end of term, so it tends to still be linked, and the children are still incredibly engaged with it now, so it's good to know that it's still those messages are still being passed on. I'm going to move on to room 2, which was the Velveteen Rabbit. There's only 2 of you, Denis and Heather.
There were indeed. We both had the same copy, and with the original artwork. And we really wished Kaz had been here because we wanted some feedback, because it's different illustrations. But the fact that it was written in 1922 and it still holds today, and it reads very well. And I was really surprised because I found it on my Calm app as a sleep story, and it is just one of those that you just want just before you go to bed. It's a short one. Yeah, so lovely little story, and I think it would appeal to everybody. It's just the story of how a rabbit is loved until it becomes real.
Yeah, Denis did read it to me before I fell asleep the other night, so that was nice.
Yeah, he did say that. He spilled the beans.
Yeah, if you want, it's a very short story. You can read it in minutes, really. I suppose that's what it is. But when I was reading it, I was thinking, Toy Story is really good, but this was the original Toy Story. It's talking. The toys come to life at night, just like they do in Toy Story. So, but it's very, very, very good, and it's just in the illustrations, as Heather said, from the original ones are brilliant. It starts in a time when the Velveteen Rabbit is in a Christmas stocking, and in the Christmas stocking, those who are old enough, it's got an orange and it's got sprigs of holly coming out of the top. So, and that took me back to when I was a child in the 60s and 70s. I still had oranges and saxons in my stocking as well. So it's really, really, really good. soft and things. And it was a little point in there when the young man is not very well. The owner of the toy is not very well, so it's good. It's a very sweet little read. So I would recommend it to anybody who wants to read it to a child or your son.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Moving on to the Treacle Walker by Alan Garner, Chris, Francis, and Lady.
It's me. Apparently, I'm the one who understood it. I think
Yes.
it was published in 2021 by Alan Garner in old age, and I think it covered quite a few authors. The later book is more of a sort of reflection on what they've written before. I saw that with Ursula Le Guin's Earthsea stories as well. The last book in that has a very different feel to it. This is about a little boy who lives in very peculiar circumstances that are never fully explained. And one day, a man called Treacle Walker turns up in a horse and cart and befriends him. And gradually, they sort of change places. And at the end, the boy goes off in the horse and cart after he's asked Treacle Walker the crucial question, am I dead? So you see, it's full of laughs all the way through. And it's quite difficult to fully work out what's going on. And I think it's probably worth a second read. But it reads more like a dream. So in some ways, it reminded me of Finnegan's Wake. Yeah, another book where you can spend most of your life trying to fathom out what it's about. Here comes everybody, as they say. So yeah, it's an easy read. It's big print, so there's nothing to stop you reading it. See what sense you make out of it. But it's peculiar. It's almost like a fantasy world. But then there's one bit where he goes to the opticians. And weird stuff happens at the opticians. But yeah, opticians aren't allowed in fantasy worlds, are they? So that bit must be real. Yeah.
Yeah, Francis and I didn't take to it so well.
Nah.
I listened to it on Audible, so that was peculiar accents, but it was really dated because they talked about a donkey stone. Does anyone else apart from Chris know what a donkey stone is? Well, he used it to clean the step, but Chris said it was used to sharpen the step, the front door step. Is that right?
But if you imagine an outdoor step, you clean it and then you use the donkey stone to put an edge on it, so you can actually see the edge from the step.
And what is it set? Because it sounds, would people understand what a donkey stone is if they read it? Would they understand what a rag and bone man is? I know it.
It's a magic donkey stone.
Okay.
I think Francis got it right. We needed a companion next to it or something to interpret it for us as we read it. But Chris did a really good job tonight of explaining what we'd either heard or read.
Well done, Chris. I'm moving on to the last room, which was David, Eleanor, myself, and Kaz, who is now here, who missed it. But sorry, it's all right. We did mention that because you found the dialogue quite tricky, you just didn't want to talk about the book at all. So in your message on Book Academy, but you weren't the only one who found the dialogue a bit heavy going. Eleanor found it tricky, and she just it was a bit heavy going for her. Overall, we found it a bit weird is probably a good word to say. A little bit confused. It chopped and changed around a lot. It was one moment it was in reality and the people were talking to each other at normal, and then suddenly they changed, and I felt it was a bit like the spirits of the past trying to relive what they were doing through new people, and then the people's personalities managed to burst out again and the spirits were gone and they were themselves again, but they were a bit confused about where they were and how they got there, because they're being controlled by these things. But I don't think everyone quite felt it was the same thing, or whether they were just being influenced, or they could feel the spirits around rather than being taken over. So yeah, we also talked about with how we all had the same copy, and the foreword was by Philip Pullman, and in it he talks about how this is a good sort of starter fantasy book, low fantasy, sort of based in reality, whereas we all felt there was not a lot of reality in it, although the reality bits were the bits that we enjoyed the most. We could, like, at one point they're walking up a hill and discussing the sheep that won't go one way around because the legs are shorter on one side, and then the other ones go the other way around because their other legs are shorter, and the humor came through. But then when it got all weird and ghostly, it was odd again. So it was very sort of mixed feelings about it. Both Ellen and I were confused about the title. We thought it was going to be like the owl service was going to be like a messaging service, like a bit like Harry Potter owls flying around or things like that. It wasn't. It was about plates.
The dinner service.
As in a dinner service, which wasn't what I was expecting at all. So
the dinner service had an owl on them.
Owls and flowers, and that the owls are traced around by one of the characters, and then they become sort of these paper owls, flutter off and they vanish. We're never really sure where they go to, but we do find out. I'm going to spoil it now, because that if the person had drawn flowers, it would have had a happier feel to it. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, the drawings could have either been owls or flowers, and it depended on how they interpreted it. And the owls were bad and the flowers were good, and she made owls without knowing that she was doing bad. That's the impression I got anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Kaz, did you want to add anything now that you're here very quickly?
No, that's cool. It was very odd, wasn't it?
It was very strange book, and I was disappointed. I think David was possibly a little bit disappointed as well, because we'd both read The Weird Stone of Brisingamen as children, and we have warm fuzzy feelings about that book by Alan Garner. And I think we were both hoping to really enjoy this book as much as we remember enjoying that book. David, do you think agree with that? He's nodding. That's good. Fabulous. We briefly touched on The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe as well, but I'm going to let that sort of percolate for a little bit, because that was our backup book in case someone couldn't join in with the groups. And we'll have a little bit of time talking about that if we do get time later. But it is 2 minutes to 8, which it means it's time for Abby's antics. So I'm just going to bring up my PowerPoint so that you can all see it, and somewhere it'll be around here. You don't have to go and find any books today, so there'll be no running around and chasing items. You will need pen and paper and a brain, which we all have, a love of words, a love of books. That's all you need today. So I'm going to share the screen now. Please give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. Fab, I've got a few thumbs up here. Okay, so I'm going to share it like this. Okay, so we are getting creative with children's book characters this week. And there are 2 ways in which we can do this. So using the letters of your name, I want you to create a new character. Okay, you can rearrange the letters of your name to create a new name, but you have to and then use those letters to create a character description. For example, I've chosen the name Benjamin, and I've made up Neb Minaj. Neb Minaj is nosy, excitable, and bold. He likes playing with magnets, doing impressions of his Nana Aggie, and gets jittery when he hears the jingle of the ice cream van. So I've just used all the letters that are in Benjamin in the different order and just made a little character description. Or if you are artistic like Kaz and you think, actually, I don't want to do words today, you could do an illustration using the letters. So I've done Benjamin there, and you can see there's a B, an E, an N, a J, an A, an M, an I, and another N. It is up to you whether you want to draw it or write it, and I would like to see either a gallery or some descriptions after our break. Does anybody have any questions about the challenge? A resounding silence. So I'm going to hope that's a good thing. I'll leave. Do you want the description up, or would you like the picture up? I can't hear anybody.
The description.
You want the description up, okay? But remember, you're using letters from your own name. You don't have to do your whole name. You can just do your first name. That works. Okay. Right, so actually I'm going to stop sharing briefly, but then I will put it back up. I make the time now 8 o'clock, so we will come back at 5 past, so you can go and grab a drink, have a comfort break, and we'll see you on the other side. Heather, you can stay as long as you like. Hello. I'm going to stop the share now so I can see your faces. Ah, how are you all? I've had a chat with a couple of you, but I haven't chatted to you much, Heather, today, or Kaz.
I'm doing very well.
Good, yeah.
I've got my interview on Monday.
Ooh.
If I pass, I'm on the programme.
Wow, that's exciting.
And I've also just accepted the chairship of trustees for Mums in Need, which is a charity that helps mothers who have escaped a coercive control relationship, but still have to battle the kids through the courts.
Oh, bless you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Whereabouts is that based then, Heather, please?
It's in Sheffield, although I am hoping to steer it towards a national campaign.
Fantastic.
We're just about to expand into Brighton. So
wow, because there's too much of that goes on, isn't there?
Absolutely, yeah. And when you've got no bruises, it's very difficult to persuade.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's gone forward in that it is now illegal.
Yes.
It is covered by, the abuse law, but there's a long way to go. And sorry, may I ask what your interview's for?
It's for a PhD. So.
Oh, wow.
So I've done my proposal. That's been accepted. I've interviewed my supervisor team and now they're interviewing me.
Wow, so good luck then. Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's busy times, but you wouldn't want it any other way, would you?
Absolutely not. And the one thing I'm not giving up, as I told Denis earlier, is book academy.
Good.
Fantastic.
Need reading material other than scientific papers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Will you give us an update on it all on the WhatsApp?
If I'm accepted, I will be in the next book academy from Worcester.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Right. Cool. Well, while we're gathering, I'm going to share this little book that I was gifted by Abby, because part of my Christmas present was to have a book a month. And this one's called Fee Fi Fo Fum. And it is actually, it says Raymond Briggs on it. And I thought, oh, that's rather interesting. Raymond Briggs being the author of The Snowman and Father Christmas, and did he do August the Bogeyman as well?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And so this is just full of lots of old nursery rhymes. And I thought, but he didn't write them. What's that all about? So I went back to the front to discover actually he's taken all the old rhymes and done illustrations to them.
Wow.
I thought, how interesting so he's been able to put the old rhymes, the old nursery rhymes, the old sayings and stuff, but used it as a way for his illustrations. So wow. I thought that's something you could do, Kaz. If you wanted to write a book, have your illustrations, but obviously use old, no copyright rhymes and stories and things like that.
Well, I did start writing a children's book, but I just haven't had time to really progress it very far, to be honest with you. I did the first illustration and then just got nowhere else with it, but then had an idea for a great novel, so I started writing that and got 20,000 words in and then that went by the by. It's finding the time, isn't it? Because things come up, don't they?
It's blocking that time, as most of us will recognize. Abby, how long are you on your owl book?
I wrote the story in 2014 and I'm still illustrating it.
as inspiration, Kaz, the illustrator of this one was knighted.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
James Kaz, how do you fancy that?
For that or for something else?
I think contribution to art. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then there's some people who are more illustrated wise. Like, has anyone read this book or had this one? Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus.
No.
And it's all the illustrations. He's a famous cartoon illustrator, and he's become famous because of this book. And it is so funny because this pigeon is just like an awkward child who just begs and pleads all the way to be allowed to drive the bus. And of course the answer is no, and he doesn't like it at all. So when we went to America, Mo, how do you say it? Abby Williams,
yeah,
is the author, and we went and saw an exhibition of all his illustrations, all based, a whole series on pigeons. Well, another one is Don't Let the Pigeon Have a Puppy, and so forth. So
it's kids love that. I actually did it as a 3-week project with my class, and we basically broke the book apart, and I got them drawing pigeons, and then they had to write their own story of Don't Let the Pigeon Do Something. And there's a little app as well which you can use based on it, and you can put in your own words, and then it reads the book as you've done it. And so the kids did all that, and then 2 of them chose to do Don't Let the Pigeon Smoke Cigarettes. And they really took it like a real life issue, and they went with it, and there were 7. It just blew my mind. So
Don't Let the Pigeon Vape.
Vape,
yeah,
the modern one now, yeah. So right, we're going to get back to it. Has anyone done any drawings of their name? Oh, go on then, Bruce. Show us if you're happy to.
Yeah, let me just see if I can share my desktop.
Well, I can make you co-host so that you can.
Thank you. Yes. I have to say it's not the greatest drawing in the world, but
you got given 3-4 minutes to do it, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, we just
and it was without tutoring by Kaz.
There we go. So hopefully you can see that.
Oh wow.
So I just got Bruce in Cuba. So
very good.
Brilliant.
Lovely.
Very clever.
Very clever. Oh, you'll have to send me a copy of that so that we can put it on our message out to everybody. Did anyone else do a drawing? No? Okay. Is anyone feeling, well, if everyone wants to, if they're feeling brave enough to tell me, or if you want to put it into the chat, this was mine. I will put it in the chat. So I went for renaming myself to Essor Ribber, which is my name backwards, but I've broken it into 2 names. And an excitable sock owl who likes rock and roll inside broken baubles in Amaretto. So don't know whether that tells you all about me. But
I put one in the chat for you, Abby.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to read theirs out?
Do you want me to?
Go on then, Sally, and then Kaz.
Right. Mine is Ash Lust. Animated, likes to gesticulate, horticulturally active, talks a lot, sensitive to people's emotions, always upbeat and looking forward, not back.
Fantastic. Kaz?
Yeah, I used my first 2 names, Charlotte Ann, and I've got Lone Ratchet. Longing for a new adventure, Lone ranges from town to town, creating havoc and playing exciting tricks.
Well done.
Yay. Anyone else wanting to share? If not, I'm not going to make you if you don't want to. Go on then, Jerry O'Brien, and then David.
I struggled with Jerry, so I used my christened name, which is Jared, and I switched it around to Deraj. So it's D-E-R-R-A-G, and Deraj is deranged, eccentric, reclusive. reticent, angry, and grisly. He lives in a post-apocalyptic world where society has broken down. He's embittered. He's lost his faith in humanity. Anarchy and chaos is reigning supreme. So he lives alone in the forest. Think Grizzly Adams, but maybe not so kind of heart.
I think September's getting to you, Jerry.
It is, isn't it? Maybe I'm spending too much time out there in the woods.
That's some serious stuff right there.
Yeah.
Go on then, David.
Can I share screen? Because I just popped on a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't believe you did the PowerPoint.
What would you expect, Kaz? Not that one. We'll come to that one. Come on. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. Oh, I'm mucking it up. That's where I need to be. Right, I'll get there. Okay. So I'm supposed to be auditioning for pantomime tonight. So I'm going to be auditioning for Bernie Slobber the Debt Collector. Anyway, so I thought an anagram of my name is in fact Ivor N. Baddy. That's what I'm going to be in pantomime. And as you would expect, Ivor is an international villain of renown. But don't worry, he's not bad all day. He's delightful in the evening.
Very good.
Brilliant. Okay. Anyone else wanting to share? We do need to move on, and I have been blown away actually by the descriptions. I was just expecting this to be a really quick little thing, but I think we could have spent the whole evening on this and analysing Jerry's brain.
I'll do mine very quickly if I may.
You may.
Yeah, Denis has suddenly become Esind. He's easygoing with a great imagination, but nosy most of the time. He loves going swimming, especially with his dog.
Oh, yeah, very good.
Lovely. If you have done them and you want to share them, please put them into the chat. So thank you, Eleanor. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Candice. Thank you, Bruce, for putting yours in there as well. Thank you, Jerry Stravey, for putting yours in there. They're all fantastic and well done. And I
Heather was the first to put hers in.
Yeah, I didn't see Heather's. Oh yes, there it is. Yeah, I think it's because brilliant. Thank you, Heather, as well. What I didn't tell you at the beginning of this is now you'll have the challenge to write a book about your character. There you go. There's your challenge. Okay, you can't say you can't think of a character because you have all got one now. So we're going to move swiftly on to books in the news, and I can have a break and you can have a break from my voice as well. So I'm just going to make you co-host. Oh, you don't want me to be co-host, do you? You want me to do it? Go. Are you ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen. And there we go. And everyone see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
So, what's in the news for September 2023? Move on to the next one, Abby Rose. It would be so good. So, as we're in the mode of children, you may find a common theme through these slides too. So, Julie Andrews has opened up about reviving her voice through the magic of children's books. As you know, she this living legend, which is a term that you can throw around far too loosely, I think. But I think it's definitely right for Dame Julie Andrews to give her correct title. So she nearly lost her voice after following surgery completely, but was unable to continue singing professionally, as you know. But she got into this book writing thing, which has brought us all together every month, which is great fun. But she's writing children's books alongside her daughter. I think there's a theme somewhere along there, mother and daughter. And Julie Andrews said that she would go completely mad if she didn't have something lovely to work on. So I think that's really nice. And their latest fictional book, entitled The Enchanted Symphony, inspired by a real story in the Barcelona Opera House, filled its seats with plants during the COVID pandemic. So I thought that was quite sweet. But I haven't read the book. If anybody wants to go and get it, please let me know how you find it. Next slide, Abby. This young lady, Everleigh Brooks, has completed the White House Public Library 1,000 books before kindergarten program. So at the age of 5, she finished reading her 1,000th book. And as you can see, she got a tote bag, a children's book, and a gift when she got it. So this is open to anybody in the United States, I understand. And it's a free program from anyone from ages 0 to 5. So Jerry, if you've got some people who might be interested in getting their children to read 1,000 books before they're 5, so a long way to do it. I wonder if Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus was actually one of those books. But although it was quite a sweet little story. Next slide, please. Oh, yes. Oh, no, gone too far. Yes.
Oh, I missed that one then, sorry.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
That's the little girl. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've just done that one.
I wasn't on it, so.
All right, okay, sorry. That's all right. So this year's pick of 6 children's books for September apparently are these. Never heard of any of the writers, but Saving Hanon, Chang and the Elephant, based on a true story. So let me find out now. The extraordinary book contains not only a massive information about elephants and the world they inhabit, but the moving story of Hanon. It's a 4-month-old elephant stolen from her mother and made to work so hard and cruelly that she ends up with a damaged spine, broken leg, and broken tail. But she is rescued by the Animals Asia Foundation, nursed back to health, taught how to fend for herself in the wild. So, a good story. And that's published by Macmillan, if anybody's interested, at $14.99. Victor the Wolf with Worries by Catherine Raymond. A new dog has joined our family, apparently. Oki is a young, boisterous, hairy, rascally, and entirely lovable dog. Wolf, sorry. Anyway, when the book called Victor, the Wolf with Worries arrived on the author's desk, this piece that I found, anyway, the picture on the cover was a dead ringer for young Oki. Anyway, but it's good. And then an enchanting little story, superbly illustrated, which are smaller members of any family were apparently loved. And that's by Catherine Rayner. Whilst we're on the subject of dogs, John O'Gee's I Want a Dog is another book to smile or laugh out loud with children aged 3+. The reader never knows the name of the small girl who is determined, and I'm told really determined to have a dog. And if you want to know about how determined people can be to get a dog, speak to Lady at another time. So it's lots of cartoony pictures, but it's I Want a Dog is a cracker of the book, apparently, for the young. So Help, the Children Have Taken Over the World is a mad, zany book about what happens when a crazy scientist called Max Flatter invents a new breakfast cereal. Anybody fancy inventing a new breakfast cereal? I'm sure we can have some interesting topics over the breakfast table if you did. Anyway, so Cliff Martin wrote this, published by the Book Guild and in paperback, and it's a must-read apparently for all those 8+, hoping that such a breakfast cereal will soon be invented, coming to a town near you. Matthew Fox's second book, The Lovely Dark, has a central character being transported to a different world. This time, it is Ellie who goes with her friend. We've got Ellie with us tonight, if that's I'm allowed to shorten your name, Eleanor. So she takes her friend Justin to see an old mosaic and ends up being transported across the Styx by boatman Sharon into the world somewhere else. Published by Hachette, again in paperback at $7.99. The last one they recommend is Clarice is Back. Clarice Bean Scram by Lauren Child. It's the start of summer holidays and Clarice is bored. But her best friend Betty is away. She's saving like mad for her sister's rainbow roller skates. But every time she nearly has enough, she spends some money of it on things like an emergency packet of crisps. And lady can sympathise with that. She could fancy an emergency packet of crisps. And then Along Comes the Dog. Seems as though there are lots of dogs in children's books for September. And that's published by HarperCollins. Next book, Abby, please. Next book, next slide. So, Chronicle Books and Lego have launched a new collaborative product for 2023. So, a little bit of a few games for the kids as well, but this is what they've done. How we create an inspiration deck. Thinkers, builders, designers, and kids at heart who work at the Lego Group invite you behind the scenes to see how they create every day. 78 card deck features insights and advice from individuals across all job descriptions. If you're a Lego fan, they might just be for you. One for Lady, a Lego Christmas train puzzle. The newest puzzle in the best-selling Lego puzzle series has a holiday twist. 4 individual puzzles to create a Christmas winter wonderland that the whole family can build and enjoy together. So it's only 100 days to Christmas, people. Keep having and that's designed for people age 7 plus. Lego mystery minifigure mini puzzle, an animal edition. I wonder if there's a dog in there. But it's another. It's 126 pieces in this one. Or you can get a Lego 2024 wall calendar or a Lego minifigure a day 2024 daily calendar. Those of you who've written books and I want to go out with, who or which company could you team up with for your book? Just something to think about over the next month. Next slide, please, Andy. And 12-year-old illustrator, a young guy called Niall Hennick, has worked with his writer dad to make comic books. Dad said his art blew beyond that's cute a long time ago. And he always impresses him with how much progress he makes. Now, the 12-year-old and his dad are putting together those same books to be published. So it's a bad cop versus good cop with their comic book line. And apparently they're quite amazing. So they've got a Kickstarter fundraising campaign for their upcoming book line. You can find it by searching Kickstarter for Bad Cop versus Good Cop. And he wants to invest in 12-year-old Niall Hennick. So next slide, please, Emma. What's happening in the book world, or what's history in the book world? So 13th of September, just passed. Again, Roald Dahl's birthday, another child story writer, Matilda, which I'm sure you know about. I read The Time Machine, obviously from H.G. Wells. It was his birthday on the 21st of September. And F. Scott Fitzgerald's birthday, 24th of September. I had to read The Great Gatsby at school. I didn't enjoy it then. I've seen the film and I quite enjoyed that. William Faulkner, I've never read anything, but his birthday is on the 25th. And Abby's favourites, T.S. Eliot's Old Possum book of Practical Cats. It would be his birthday on the 26th of September if he was still around. So, next slide, please, Emma. Join the Book Academy today. If you've got any friends out there, etc., please bring them along to the Book Academy. And just one last slide. You really don't want to know if you're in the UK. Coming soon, Liz Truss's book. it will be a thrilling read of the 17 days, or however long it was, she was Prime Minister. But the shortest serving Prime Minister in the United Kingdom has revealed details of a forthcoming book, 10 Years to Save the West. I think we'll leave it there. More news in the book world next month.
Thank you very much. I can't wait for Liz Truss's book. Really excited about that one.
Yep.
Right. Have I stopped the share properly? Yes, I have. Okay. Right, we are running way behind schedule now, so I'm not going to chat at you. I am going to go straight over to David for Word Corner. So, David, take it away.
Thank you very much. Let me share. Oh, wrong one. And we'll get there in the end. Okay, hello, welcome to Word Corner for tonight. Just a reminder, last month we talked about foods that were named after places in the UK. We had Eton Mess, Yorkshire pudding. Found out that Aunt Bessie was founded because they had to supply Butlins in 1974. And there is, of course, a Yorkshire Pudding Day. And we also looked at the biggest ever Eccles cake, which was pretty big. So there we go. Anyway, that's not what we're doing this month. You had to put a photo of yourself eating a place-named food, which Abby says she did take a photograph but forgot to post it. So we'll look forward to seeing that on Facebook. Anyway, we'll move forward to this month. Something slightly different this month. I'm going to talk about the Proust questionnaire, which some of you will know, some of you won't, but it's quite an interesting thing. Marcel Proust, as you may know, is a French novelist who is most famous for his 7-volume work À la recherche du temps perdu, in search of lost time, sometimes translated as Remembrance of Things Past, where he talks about memories evoked by things, items, articles. Anyway, in terms of this, the Proust questionnaire is a series of questions, 35 questions in the sort of classic Proust questionnaire, about you that you answer. And he answered them twice, at the age of 14, the age of 20. And he didn't write the questions, but they sort of got his name because he most famously answered them. And where he did answer them was sold at auction in 2003 for 102,000 euros. And they're based on what was called a confession album going back to Victorian times, a bit like an autograph book, but with a printed set of questions in there that you answered for the person. So it looked a bit like that. You had the question on the left-hand side, and then you hand wrote your answer in on the right-hand side. If any of you are a bit like me and can't read that sort of script, then here is what that says. So questions are like, what is your favourite virtue? Benevolence. These are very Victorian answers. Favourite qualities in a man? Fearlessness and uprightness. Favourite qualities in a woman? Constancy and affability, etc. Your idea of misery? A fashionable dinner party in town. Some things don't change. And where would you like to live near Exeter? Not actually in Exeter, but near Exeter. And I think that shows in Victorian times they perhaps didn't have, I think most people answering that today wouldn't say near Exeter. They might say, I don't know, south of France or Florida or somewhere exotic that they've been to or they want to go to or they've seen. But horizons were much narrower back there in the Victorian times. I think that one of the reasons I thought I'd cover this today, apart from the fact I think they're fascinating questions, some of these, are that we talked about you creating a character with your name, and Abby wants you to write a book about it. But you can actually use these to ask questions to your characters, to develop character, to think about what does the character think, what's their background. And these sort of questions can prompt thinking about the character, defining the character, putting more depth to the character. So in particular, those sorts of questions: what's your character's idea of perfect happiness? What is your character's greatest fear? So if you're writing fiction and you're creating something from scratch, then these kind of questions can just help you to develop character and think about what situations they would get into, what they would be thinking in those situations. So on what occasion do you lie? And what would push your character to not tell the truth? Other questions from the Proust questionnaire: which words or phrases do you most overuse? That's quite an interesting one. Are there things that you catch yourself saying? When and where were you happiest? I think that's one of the most interesting questions. What's your most treasured possession? Can be quite revealing. And the Proust questionnaire started as a Victorian parlour game. Proust sort of popularised it in a way, but it carried on through the 20th and into the 21st century. I first came across it. I lived in France in the 1980s, and there was a programme on television presented by Bernard Pivot called Apostrophe, which the closest thing I can say is, if you remember in the UK, film 76, film 82, etc., with Barry Norman, it was that, but about books. So he would talk about the latest, a bit like Denis, talk about the latest book releases, and he would interview authors in the same way that Barry Norman would have guests on. So, but he would use some of the Proust questions in that, as did the photograph there is of James Lipton, who had a series in America, which has been shown over here, which ran for, I think, 28 years in the end, called Inside the Actor's Studio, where they interviewed famous actors. In this case, it was Hugh Jackman in the photograph that you can see there. And at the end, he would go through some of the Proust questions and just ask them quick-fire questions to get answers. And also Vanity Fair and The Guardian magazine have used these. So Vanity Fair ran for a long, long time. And Guardian magazine is still running. That's been going. That's where I first came across it in this country, with that question, when and where were you happiest? That really stuck in my mind. So it's carried on. It's still used. In fact, Vanity Fair turned it into a book in 2009 and picked 101 luminaries to share some of their thoughts. So I thought I'd share some of those with you. David Bowie, what's your greatest fear? Converting kilometers to miles. There you go. You can think in that photograph, you can see on the right-hand side, somebody just asked him to do that. You can see the look of terror in his eyes. What's your most treasured possession? A photograph held together by cellophane tape of Little Richard that I bought in 1958, and a pressed and dried chrysanthemum picked up on my honeymoon in Kyoto. So, if people take the time to answer these questions, they can be quite revealing, quite a sort of a snapshot into people's life. What is the quality you most like in a man? The ability to return books. What is the quality you most like in a woman? The ability to burp on command. A much undervalued quality in women, I find. Don't know whether you can put in the chat if anybody has that ability on there. Julie Andrews getting mentioned twice. So Denis mentioned Julie Andrews, obviously now author of The Enchanted Symphony. But what did Julie Andrews consider to be the most overrated virtue? Chastity. Might not be what you would expect with her public image. And what do you most dislike about your appearance? Her nose. She doesn't like her nose. Can't see anything wrong with her nose. And what is your motto? Have you got a motto? Well, Julie Andrews' motto is, when in doubt, stand still, which is probably quite good advice. Margaret Atwood, another author. This is from Vanity Fair. What's your idea of perfect happiness? A canoe, mixed sun and cloud, no deadlines in sight. There speaks the author. When I haven't got a deadline to meet, my editor's not chasing me, I'm not having to do something in a hurry, then that's when I'm happy. And what is your current state of mind? Lazy, anxious, and distracted. I've learned to live with it. So if you've ever been faced with a blank page, then that may be reminiscent of that state of mind. And what's the quality you most admire in a man? Funny, smart, unjustifiably optimistic, and good at taking the lids off jars. There you go. That's what Margaret Atwood looks for. These are ones from The Guardian, slightly less serious, some of these. Shane McGowan of the Pogues. If you've come across him, who would play you in a film of your life? Leonardo DiCaprio. I think we can all see the resemblance there. What do you most dislike about your appearance? My face isn't as beautiful as it used to be. And your guiltiest pleasure, having the odd drink. So that's Shane McGowan. Paul O'Grady, greatest fear was finding a rat swimming in his toilet. Quite where that comes from, I'm not sure. What did you want to be when you were growing up? To work in a dry cleaner. So he never actually reached his ambition from childhood. And one of the Guardian questions is, would you rather have more sex, more money, or more fame? And he said he wasn't bothered about sex, money, or fame. He just wanted a mongoose. And then Sandra Rhodes, if you could bring back something extinct to life, what would you choose? And she chose the fax machine. There speaks a technophobe. What's been your biggest disappointment? This was about 35 years after Charles and Diana's wedding, and her biggest disappointment was not doing Diana's wedding dress. So you can see that rankled with her across her life. And tell us a secret, her hair wasn't naturally that colour. So it can be quite fun, I think, to do these. You see sort of similar things sometimes on Facebook these days with a list of questions to answer, or things that you have done or you haven't done, and that kind of thing. So we're still intrigued by finding out a bit more about other people. Some of the additional sorts of questions from the original questionnaire have been added to in The Guardian and Vanity Fair. So what's your favourite or least favourite word? Which books are you ashamed not to have read? So have you got any books that you think, I probably should have read that, but I haven't? Who would you like to see on a new banknote? And this one was used also by Gay Byrne on the Late Late Show in Ireland. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates? It's quite an interesting one. This is up to date. This is from last Saturday. It's still being asked in The Guardian. This is comedian Kerry Godliman. And they include the question now, what's your most embarrassing moment? For Kerry, it was farting in front of Colin Firth. Apparently she didn't know it was his turn. Denis, the old jokes are the best, aren't they? There we go. So that's the Proust questionnaire, and your challenge. I'm going to put on the Book Academy face page a list of questions taken from the Proust questionnaire, from the Guardian, from Vanity Fair, and you cut and paste that and stick your answers in. We can all find out a bit more about each other in the Book Academy. So hopefully some of you will rise to the challenge this month. But there you go. That's Word Corner, the Proust questionnaire, the ability to ask some interesting questions and find out a bit more about people.
Of course, if not using Facebook, we can always put it on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Well,
I can try.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm always amazed how linked up all our presentations and things are, because we have no coordination about what we're doing. We just do what we feel like is representative of the month, and there are so many links and crossovers. It astounds me every time. So just shows that we have great minds. That's what it is. So before, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes break, David, so you can get ready for your next slot. But so it's time for members news. I know Kaz has got a big weekend this weekend. Kaz, you want to start us off with that?
I've got a stand at the Collingham show. Collingham's it's either in Lincolnshire or Nottinghamshire. I'm never quite sure. We're all on the border between Notts and Links. So it's our nearest village. It's not that massive a show. It's just a little show.
Is it Newark you're at, Kaz? Because I stayed in Collingham many times. My ex-partner's mum lived there, so we stayed at Collingham. Yeah. But is it the Newark show where you're at? Or is it
No, it's the Collingham show. So it's the Newark show is earlier in the year, I think, isn't it?
Okay, because they're pretty close, yeah. Oh, so
yeah. No, it's the Collingham show. It's smaller than the Newark show, obviously, because it's just a village fate, but it's still a reasonable size.
Have you done any illustrations especially for the show?
Yeah, a few, and I've had them put on mugs and bags and all sorts of things like that. So
anything handy to show us?
No, it's all downstairs.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to ask you to run down and get it.
You can check it all out on my website, which is charlotteannstudio.co.uk.
Okay, stick that in the chat. That'd be lovely.
Sure.
On both days, Kaz?
No, just Saturday. It's just a one-day show.
Okay, brilliant. So if you can make it, go and support Kaz and meet her in person rather than just via Zoom. It'd be fantastic. Yeah. Has anybody else got any news they would like to share? We've heard some of Heather's news. I don't know that everyone was here though, Heather, but if you want to say it again so everyone can hear, or put it in the chat, let us know if you don't want to.
Yeah, I've just got my PhD interview on Monday, so it's a bit of a biggie thing.
Cool. But she's not giving up the Book Academy despite all the other scientific reading that she will have to do when she gets it.
Absolutely not.
Anybody else got any news about what they're up to in the book world or anything else really?
I'm being interviewed at the Harrogate Autumn Flower Show, where we're launching Ara, and Abby and Denis are helping me with that. And to help with that, Abby Rose has made me a monkey puzzle tree. And here she is. Oh, here. I don't know if she's actually coming over very well on the camera, but can you tell what she's made of? Anyone?
Is it bottle brushes? That's what the original Christmas tree was made of.
100 pound notes.
I wish. Giving it away.
Paper? It looks like paper.
It's actually felt. Abby's made stars to symbolize how prickly the monkey puzzle tree is.
Yeah, significantly softer than an actual monkey puzzle.
Yeah, I suggested we sort of put barbed wire or something in just to make it a bit more realistic. And how many cutouts of felt are there in this?
There are 1,005 stars on that tree.
So
drawn and cut out by hand because my cry cut machine isn't set up.
So we'll be taking this to put on the stand.
It took a few hours, so Anyone else want to share anything? If I don't see any mad waving at me, I'm going to go straight back to David so he can.
Oh, Bruce.
Oh, Bruce is waving.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the names. I'm just going to stick it in the chat to everybody. So I got a little bit carried away with an anagram of my name, which may be a bit small to read, actually, looking at that. So not quite
Can you read it out for the recording?
Yeah, so Bruce Roberts, the inventor of corset rubber, whilst he lived in Berber Courts, was most famous for trying to resurrect Bob, one of the recut robbers, whilst trying to negotiate robber truces. All anagrams of Bruce Roberts.
Wow. So at least you didn't use your middle name.
I haven't got one of those.
I'm loving these. I'm absolutely loving them. Okay, David, over to you for the word of the month. Woo!
Oh, that's incredible. Is that on oh, it's material, is it?
It's a tea towel.
Tea towel.
Yeah, it's tea towel. Yeah.
How much are you selling these for?
£12 for the tea towels.
They'd make lovely pillowcases as well. Children's pillowcases and quilts.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
I've got them all on mugs and bags and all sorts of things.
I thought they were silk pillowcases to begin with.
Yeah, tea towel.
Are they
people say they're too pretty to use?
Yeah.
They're the show tea towel that you have on display, which you have the other one stuffed in the cupboard that you don't care about.
I've got a video of me using the fishy one on TikTok.
Can you do one with a drawing of a monkey puzzle tree?
I could.
We'll talk about that then.
Okay, there we go. I thought I'd just
Thank you.
share that for you, Kaz.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's word of the month. Let's have a look. So last month's word of the month was canter. The pace between a trot and a gallop, and it came from the Canterbury Tale, not from the Canterbury Tales, from pilgrimages to Canterbury. That was the pace at which the pilgrims went, at a Canterbury pace. Anyway, word of the month this month. Right, so a little bit of work for you then. Let's see if you can work this one out. I'm going to give you a couple of clues. They're not actually very easy clues. So the definition of this word is it's a confused jumble or medley of things. You can shout out this as a good synonym for it is hodgepodge. I'll explain why later on. That's a good synonym for this month's word of the month. And as we've been doing anagrams, we are so joined up and without knowing it. This is an anagram of I'm a full grey. There you go. Anybody work out an anagram of I'm a full grey that means the confused jumble or medley of things? This month's word of the month is?
Menagerie?
Menagerie. No, it's a good guess. It's a good guess, but it's not right.
Chris has put something in the chat.
Oh, what are you putting, Chris? Chris will have got it. He's clever.
Gallimorphy he's put in.
Gallimorphy. Yeah, that's the one, Chris. There we go. Gallimorphy. That's this month's word of the month. I just came across it when I was reading something. I thought it was a great word because I sort of knew the word and wasn't quite exactly sure what it meant. So I looked it up and I thought we'll use that one. And it's the name of a restaurant there. And that's but when you Google it and look at images, that's the first image that comes up is of a restaurant in Bristol, the Gallimorphy, and that's because it's a cuisine-based word. We were talking about food in books earlier on in our group. Comes from calimafri, from the old French 1300s, a sauce made of mustard, ginger, and vinegar, which doesn't sound the best sauce that you're ever going to taste to mine. Possibly comes from two old French words, galet, meaning to make merry, and maffray, meaning to eat a lot. And it moved on from being just that sauce to being a stew. So this is from La Rousse Gastronomique, which was first published in 1938, the classic French reference book for cooking, and it references back to a recipe in a book called Le Viandier,
this is just over now.
Meat person from the 1300s. where you take a leg of mutton freshly cooked, chop it as finely as possible in a dish of onions, chew these ingredients with a little verjuice, which is juice from either crab apples or unripened grapes. So it's quite a sour juice that you use in cooking. Butter, ground white ginger, mixed together and seasoned with salt, and you make that stew called calamari. And if you are a science fiction fan, you like Doctor Who, you may be thinking that sounds a bit like Gallifrey, which is where Doctor Who is from. And apparently John Nathan Turner, who was the producer of the show for a long time, did say at a convention, a Doctor Who convention back in the 1980s, that was the origin of the word. They did take it from Gallimorphy and turn it into Gallifrey for Doctor Who's home planet. Other stews which have been turned into words for medley is a hodgepodge or a hodgepodge or a hot pot. So a mixture of different things, or a hash. Corned beef hash is hash with a load of other stuff, or a potpourri, po meaning pot, pourri meaning rotten in this case. But they're all words that are sort of stews turned into things which we use for a miscellany of other things and other food medleys. An unusual one, salmagundi, dates back to the 1600s, which was a dish of chopped meat, anchovies, eggs, onions, with oil and condiments. And one more familiar, up to date, dating back to 1893, a smorgasbord. So a smorgasbord, originally food, but we do use it now for a selection of things. You can have a smorgasbord of choices. Literally means goose butter table. So smor is butter, gas is goose. Smorgas, when you put them together, becomes slices of bread and butter. And that's what it originally was, just open sandwiches on a board, a table. So smorgasbord, but then it became that rather feasty sort of looking buffet that you get if you go to Scandinavia. Smorgasbord. So another word that originates from food but becomes to mean a wide choice that you have. And one final example of this, sopa de pedra, from Portugal, literally means stone soup. Pedra meaning stone. And I came across this dish in Portugal in the 1990s, but it's actually quite a wide European story. You get a version of this story in many places, but the Portuguese version is the travelling friar stopped in Almarim, and he was too proud to beg for food, so he just asked for a large pot and some water so that he could make some stone soup. And they filled it with water for him, put it over a fire, and he took a stone out of his pocket and popped it in and started stirring it around, and they were intrigued by what he was doing. They came to watch him, and he said, "Oh, do you know what? A little bit of seasoning might just make it taste a little bit better." So they gave him a bit of salt and pepper to put in it, and then he said, "Do you know what would make this actually taste a little bit better? Is if you've got any old vegetables left over from previous meals, a couple of potatoes maybe." They gave him some vegetables, and then he said, "Well, do you know what might just give it a little bit more flavour? A little bit of chorizo or a bit of pork belly, something." So they cut him some. So he ended up with this lovely, stew, and at the end of it, he fished the stone out, dried it off, put it back in his pocket for next time, and ate his sopa de pedra. But that's a story which I first came across in Portugal, but is actually versions of it all over Europe. Sometimes it's called, I think, wood soup or axe soup. But anyway, that's stone soup in Portugal. So word of the month for September is gallimorphy, a wide selection, a variety of things based on cuisine.
Thank you very much. You're actually making me very hungry now. I just want something to nibble on. A smorgasbord would be good, some cheese and grapes or something.
I can give you a pebble.
Thank you. I'll pass on the stone varieties.
I'll give you the pot.
I'm trying to be good, so actually only having a pebble to eat might be good for me, I think. Cornucopia, Heather, you said there. We had that word as well, haven't we? So yeah, it's very magical, a mixture of things.
All of plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, we are 5 minutes away from the end of today's session, so I don't think we're going to have time to talk about The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, unfortunately, because I need to talk about next month's the books that are coming up next month and in November. Was someone about to say something then?
Yeah, I was just saying, I've got a couple of minutes. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe.
We'll do the book stuff, and then we'll come back to it if we've got time at the end.
I was going to say, are you doing a photo?
Yes, I was just about to say, I've got some housekeeping things to do that I've missed out on. So for people who are new or returning, we always do a photo of the books that we've been reading of the month. So we've got a selection this one. So we'll hold them up so you can see your faces and the book. And I will be taking a screenshot. If you've got it on an some sort of e-reader, you can have that there as well.
Give me a second, because I'm still
no problem. A good idea, Heather. I don't know if I can balance both there, and take a photo. So just wait
for the go to.
Fantastic. That's perfect, Ellen, apart from we can't see you, but okay. Sally, have you got a random book nearby you can hold up just to pretend? Bruce, a random one nearby?
I know a good one too, Jack Russell's.
Works. What is that one? My Friend Mr.
Leaky.
Leaky. Fantastic.
I've got a different cover.
You have. They look good. Right, everyone, say cheese.
Cheese.
Cheese. Done. Fabulous. Thank you very much, everybody. So I do like the fact that Bruce was holding up another book. So he's obviously read the messages going around that bring other books that you've been inspired by to the meeting as well. So if anyone wants to put in the chat what other books have inspired them, or we'll talk through those later as well if we have time. But I briefly wanted to go talk about next month's book. Now, David has a copy with him already. And if you can hold it next to the book you read this time, please, David, just to show us what you did earlier on. It's a little bit bigger. Jerry's got a different version, but it's just as thick. And both Jerry's got theirs. Brilliant. I'm still waiting on mine. Looking forward to. Are you halfway through it, Jerry? Fantastic! Wow, you've
but I'm going to tell you what. Have you seen the print inside this baby?
Oh my!
I think it's like 8.
Get the audio.
Maybe we should have 2 months to read it.
Well, it's taken a month to read it halfway.
Wow. Well, I think the one we've kind of got scheduled for November is a little bit more light-hearted as well. So we maybe we can, if we don't finish it, we can maybe talk about what we know so far, and then if we need to carry on later on, we can cross that bridge when we get.
Can I make a suggestion about this book?
Go for it.
I had read it almost halfway through, and then I went to see the movie, and I'm telling you, it was very helpful. And it's made
helpful. Okay.
Because the movie doesn't start till about halfway through the book. And then if you see the movie, then read the book, it's going to make a lot more sense.
And the movie's 3 hours long, isn't it?
3 hours.
The movie is 3 hours long.
Wow, that's long, isn't it, for a commercial
It's
movie?
a very large Diet Coke and popcorn.
Or
no, it's not. Don't drink.
You don't want to get out.
Huh?
I wouldn't take a drink in because you have to leave.
Oh, they'll pause it. They'll pause it for you. They know who you are.
I have seen it, and I had to leave and run out, and it was the fastest dash across. Everyone sort of went, "What's going on?" And I was like, "God, could you get back to the film?" So I enjoyed the movie. It was a good movie.
Eva, do I get one more hug before bed?
Oh, thanks, Jerry.
Sorry, I thought I was on mute. No, she's been with her mum for 3 nights.
Fantastic. And we'll give her a hug. We go.
She is. She's getting very grown up now. Look.
Oh, she is.
There she is. Look at that.
Oh, bless her.
Good night.
Last year of primary school. I can't believe it.
So what's next month's book?
So
the month after. What's November?
So for November, it's been suggested by Sue, who's unfortunately not with us today, but she's one of the people who keeps suggesting books, as well as Chris, who quite often suggests books, which is very welcome. But this one's a little bit different. It's called Wabi Sabi, Japanese Wisdom for a Perfectly Imperfect Life by Beth Kempton. So I'll put it into the chat.
Thank you.
It looks a little bit more easygoing than Oppenheimer. In fact, a lot more easygoing. And I think it's one of those ones you can pick up and put down and just grab little snippets from as and when you need to, or you could just read it from cover to cover as well. It looks very different and very interesting from any of the other books that we have read, which is wonderful. I think
really expensive. Wow.
Is it?
Yeah. for a Kindle book, yeah, I think that's the most I've ever spent on a Kindle book before.
Yeah. You can buy paperbacks and things for about used copies and things for about £3 to £4. So and the paperback on it hasn't got a paperback on Amazon for some reason.
It's free with Audible by the looks of it.
Yeah, free with Audible.
If you've already got Audible, that's when you have to pay, don't you?
Yeah.
£8.84 I'm finding for an Amazon.
For the hardcover, £8.84, which I think is not too bad for a hardcover. So
paperback £9.55 I just found.
Yeah, but there are some used versions out there as well. So
can you put in the chat as well what the next month's book is? Because Sally and Eleanor won't know that.
Yeah, thank you.
So, for October, I'm just putting that in the chat now. It is American Prometheus: The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer by Kay Bird and Martin Sherwin. So that's the two.
Thank you.
So October the 12th is our next meeting, and then November's will be the 16th. But we just also wanted to float an idea about Christmas again, because it's September, and when else do you talk about Christmas? 100 days till the actual day. Last year we had a bit of a book swap and an exchange of books, and I really enjoyed receiving my book and reading something that I wouldn't normally read, and I know other people enjoyed theirs. Is it something that people would like to do again, the Secret Santa book swap? Raise your hand if you'd like to do it again.
Yeah, sure.
Up 4, 5. Lots of people. Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Again, you don't have to be involved in it if you don't want to, and if you do, I'll be sending out an email to find out who wants to be involved, and then I'll mix and match your names. I will try and get it so that it's a different person that you have to send to, so you're not sending the same people the thing. And for the month of December, we've had a little bit of a chat. Again, we know December is a busy time of year for most people, and sometimes you've got all these parties you're invited to. You haven't got time to read the books because you're out socializing. So we were thinking, what about a recipe book? So that way you don't actually have to read the entire book if you don't want to. You could probably try just reading a few of them, and then possibly make a couple of them, which you could then show everybody, your creations on Facebook and things. Is that something that people would like to do, or do we want to read a Christmas style story? Heather,
could I suggest bringing your favorite recipe book?
Yeah,
and the one recipe that you always make.
Yeah, we could do that. Your favorite recipe book.
Yeah,
and the recipe that your go-to recipe that you always do there. Yeah,
mine will be a dog-eared.
Well loved, absolutely.
Exactly.
A dog dinner then?
No, I don't think I make a dog dinner of it.
Again, we're trying to stretch it out there and try different books that we haven't, the different styles, different types, so that people are exposed to lots of different types of books that they might not normally look at, or not consider to be a book. And I personally know a lot of work goes into creating recipe books, and the photography into them, and the calorific breakdowns, etc. So hopefully everyone's sort of looking forward to Christmas as we're heading that way. So we are past 9 o'clock. So I'm going to say thank you very much for everyone coming. It's been wonderful having everybody here. Thank you, Eleanor and Sally. It's really great to have you join us. And thank you for coming back or coming for the first time. Hopefully you'd want to sign up and stay on with us. And then a few people we haven't seen for a while. Thank you, Bruce, for coming. It's been great seeing you and your extraordinary brain with words and inventions. I love it, absolutely love it. And we've missed you. So if you want to stay on and talk about The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe for another 5 minutes or so, please feel free to do so. But if you do need to rush off because it's 9:05 and you're thinking, I've got to get up early in the morning, then we won't hold it against you, but you'll be missing out. So, Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Oh, before we go, the next meeting, Thursday, 12th of October, be there.
The day before my birthday.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Happy birthday for
Bye,
it.
guys.
Bring cake.
Okay, see you.
see.
Right.
13th of October is Kaz's birthday.
It is. I'll be 45. That's scary, isn't it?
Nah.
Look at that, over 20.
Not in the flesh. That's the thing with Zoom. It kind of pastes over the cracks a bit.
I knew I was missing Zoom for some reason. Right. So
Better talk about the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I know there's only 6 of us, but we better talk about the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, as I said we were going to. One of the best stories in the world ever.
I read it aloud to my mum when I was about 8 months pregnant, and she was doing washing in a twin tub, and I was reading it aloud saying, I'm reading this to my baby, and that was for Abbey Rose.
Of course it was, because Candice always gets forgotten.
I was going to say, you wouldn't remember what you read to me, if anything.
You would have been joining with the stories that I was being read.
Yeah. They were my favourite.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's a total classic, isn't it? Lion, Witch and Wardrobe. I still think
It's a classic.
that the books are something else compared to the TV and the films. But what's your views?
My favourite ever mess do that I went to whilst I was working for the military was a Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe do, and they dressed up all the mess like Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe, and then the entrance where you had to walk through a tunnel of coats. And when you came out the other side, they'd put fake snow everywhere, and there were ice sculptures on the tables. I mean, Christ only knows how much they spent on that do. I don't know what the budget was. It must have been astronomical, but it was just insane, absolutely beautiful. And it really did take me back to my childhood of reading it, really. It was just such a lovely atmospheric book, isn't it? You know, you really picture it in your mind, everything. Particularly I always think of the Snow Queen, and just, you know, that scene where what's his name, the boy is eating the Turkish delight from the box. I mean, that I could just picture that in my mind so well, in this box of Turkish delight and all of that. It's just so just sticks in your mind, doesn't it? You can really picture it, every part of it.
Yeah.
We went to see a stage production of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe musical, with Samantha Yanis playing the White Witch. And the Turkish delight scene, it came out as puppetry and actors, and the Turkish delight danced. It was, you can almost imagine that because it's poisonous and it changes the mind. It was almost hallucinogenic in some ways, and it gives you a completely different feel to what that would have been like, because he would have been changed by it. So yeah, that's probably my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in the book actually, is Turkish delight, because
me too.
And when we were, I must have been 10 and 7, we had a joint birthday party with Lion, the Witch and the Narnia theme really, but mainly Lion, the Witch, Wardrobe, and everyone had to walk through fur coats to get into the hall.
And we had the light in our living room for years after the. Where is that?
The lamppost. Is it in the garden?
The lamppost.
We've got a lamppost in the garden ready to go out somewhere.
And a lion.
Yeah, there's a lion.
Pin the tail on the lion.
Yep. Everyone had to bring a lion as their entry to get in. They didn't have to. They could take it away with again, but it could be a picture, it could be a cuddly toy, anything to get in. I had Care Paravel as a cake. Candice had a lion cake.
Did I? I thought that was all mice with tutti fruttis on it, but
I was time off that one.
Yours one went with the theme. Mine was just rebel.
Reaper Cheap was a mouse. He had to have.
True.
Yeah. And the names are just phenomenal.
Memories.
Have you read it with your daughter, Jerry?
I have, yeah, really good. And same thing, fond memories from childhood days reading it. I was in Oxford a few years ago, and you can go into the Eagle and Child, which is where Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and some of their fellow students used to sit and chat about their works, I guess. And I found that really atmospheric, just to sit there and have a pint and think, wow, all these amazing minds were here discussing that. But yeah, it's an amazing story. It's timeless, isn't it?
It breaks your heart as well when Aslan dies. Your heart just, as a child, your heart just breaks, doesn't it? I remember just being so inconsolable over it.
But he comes back
tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, but it's the point. You don't know that until
that's true.
when you're reading, do you?
Did it have, like, was there an undercurrent kind of theme then to the book in terms of Aslan? Is it like the Christian moral? Is that what it is? Is it
That's what
reflecting
they say, isn't it? Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the implication is.
Lewis wrote a number of Christian books after that, and he wrote it, just to tell the Christian tale in a different way. So,
and I mean, it's there's 7 books in the series, isn't there? Yeah. And I think even the others have some connotations with the Christian faith too.
Yeah.
Last Battle definitely does.
Which does?
The Last Battle definitely does.
Yeah, I have it on my bookshelf here, the full works of
wow.
Yeah. Susan in The Last Battle isn't there. She's not, doesn't believe, so she's not allowed back into Narnia, whereas the others do.
That's right, yeah.
See, I have to admit this, I probably was going to admit it. I've not actually read the books.
You've not read the books?
Horse and the Boy.
There's a reason where you should have read the book to her while she was in your tummy.
Yeah.
You've had them read to you.
Not all the books. I've watched because we used to watch the BBC drama one, didn't we? The Lion, Witch and Wardrobe. And obviously I know the names of all of them, those things, because all of the dogs and animals were named. The dogs were named after it. When one of our dogs had puppies, all the puppies had their kennel club names as
Narnia
the animals or characters. But
yeah. You have had them audiobooks read to you, because we had those as children. I've still got them on tape, on cassette. So you have had them read to you to sleep at night, but then you probably fell asleep. So you do.
I'm feeling I'm going to be made to read them now.
Well, you will have to read them to Sophia.
The Magician's Nephew is quite a good one as well. That's the first one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But written last.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
So he did it as a kind of a prelude.
Yeah. Where did the wardrobe come from? That's where somebody asked him, and that's how to create the story.
Interesting.
And was that one with Diggory and Verity in?
Polly.
So Polly. It was Verity, wasn't it?
No, Polly and Diggory.
Polly Plummer and Diggory Kirk.
Oh, I thought that's why you called her Verity as well. Yeah.
And isn't the professor in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe Diggory Kirk?
Diggory, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
I love the thought of you can jump into a puddle or a pond and go into a different world. I just thought that was just incredible.
That's what I was going to say earlier on, lady, when you were asking me about the forest and the changing of the seasons. It feels otherworldly to me. I always feel like the autumn months bring this kind of, I don't know, the thread between worlds is a bit thinner, the realms, the fairy realms, the other world. And that's where I was growing up. My granduncle used to tell me all these tales about the fairy, the wee folk and stuff. Very strong in Irish mythology and folklore. But in the autumn months is when you feel it strongest. But yeah, same as you. So I love that idea that you can just slip away into another world.
Yeah.
And people have used something similar, haven't they, as portals in following. I think Robin Hobbs used it in some of her books to go through a puddle or what seems like a sheen of water and come out at the other end. So it's
maybe my character, the guy living in the post-apocalyptic world will find a portal and go back and.
I think you'd like. There's one of my favorite books is Beyond the Pale by a writer called Mark Anthony, and he unfortunately, I think he went a bit nuts and didn't finish the series. He wrote 3 or so books in the series, and then he just stopped, and so the story doesn't go anywhere, which is really unfortunate. But the books that he did write are absolutely cracking, Beyond the Pale in particular. But it basically is there are 2 worlds, and the links between them are thin in places, and he has the ability to transfer between the 2, and so do some other people in the world. But because it's written present day almost, or was at the time, so it seems real, and then there's this shifting of reality that he can slip into another world, and it's like medieval times, and it's just so visceral. I can really imagine it. I was there in that book. It was one of those books where you're there and you're like, oh, I wish that was real.
Maybe it is.
I think that's why I always loved The Enchanted Wood, the Enid Blyton books, because they would, and The Faraway Tree, because she would go up the top of the tree, and at the top of the tree the children would enter a new world, and there'd be like Dame Slap-a-Lot. Not always nice worlds, but there were some incredible adventures that she took them on.
Sophie is enjoying those at the moment because that's on her Tony book, so we normally put The Faraway Tree on there. But I've just seen also there's the Magic Wishing Chair is coming on one of the books as well, and I remembered we had that too, didn't we?
Yeah. I just want to show another thing, obviously illustration wise, and one of the things that we love about books, especially the older books, is the style of illustrations. And this one is so iconic, with Mr. Tumnus and Lucy walking through past the lamppost and going to his house, his umbrella, and yeah, it's here you go, there's a lamppost as well. And
I remember that illustration. I remember it.
Yeah. So and I think it's, although it's a chapter book and for slightly older children to read by themselves, the pictures do help the children read them and associate with them, because although you can imagine them in your mind, sometimes some children now, especially, I find, unless it's been CGI'd, find these oldie worldy type of descriptions difficult sometimes. Like I ask, like especially at school, you say, what would you think a fawn looks like? They haven't got a clue what a fawn looks like anymore. It's just not in their vocabulary. Whereas until you then showed them that, they'd go, oh, okay, and they'd accept it. So, but I've just opened a page, and there's like some plants as well, which are snowdrops, which is, and crocuses, and description of it is dozen crocuses growing around the foot of an old tree, gold and purple and white. Then came a sound even more delicious than the sound of the water. Going back to the reading at the beginning of the thing, how the sound, you can have the sound was more delicious than water. And I'm thinking, sounds being delicious, it's tasting the sound. And I think it's it might be Bruce who can taste colour, can't he?
Yes.
So he sees a colour, and he has a taste every time he sees a colour. I can't remember what that condition is, but it's astounding. And I imagine when he's reading books, he's probably got all these flavours every time he reads a colour. So like if you have white, purple and gold at the same time, what does that taste like? So amazing.
Ask him. Cool.
I've noticed the fawn in the TV series, he's quite sort of comical, isn't he, and quite kind of friendly. And then you watch something like Pan's Labyrinth, and the fawn in that is terrifying. He really is quite scary, isn't he, with his great long fingers. And
that's a really good movie though, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah.
But creepy, it kind of makes you feel very uncomfortable all the way through, doesn't it?
Yeah. I like foreign language movies, I must admit. Just kind of lose yourself in them a bit.
Can you put the subtitles on then?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm watching it with subtitles, actually. Actually, I'm learning Spanish as well at the moment, so I should watch movies in Spanish, really. Just Yeah, it's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Stick the Spanish on and Spanish subtitles.
It does help, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously, there's one thing we don't like about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, other than the witch, is the fact that it's always winter, but never Christmas.
Never Christmas.
I said it's 100 days to go. Thankfully, you know, he does turn up and presents are given. But ho, ho, ho.
In this copy, there's a review in the back, or a blurb for Alan Garner, The Weird Stone of Brisingamen and the Owl Service.
As you said, how weird is it that things link up like that?
Very strange. Very, very strange.
I won't be reading any of his again. I did not enjoy that experience.
But I loved The Weird Stone of Brisingamen. As a child, I remember loving it. So I am going to be reading it as an adult, though.
Maybe if you were reading it, maybe it would have been better.
Yeah, rather than listening.
It's a shame you can never reread something as a child again, can you? You can never go back and experience it as a child.
I am enjoying experiencing ones though with Sophia, listening to her engaging it, although the million of questions sometimes is irritating, actually, thinking about it on every page. But where are they? Why are they doing that? Listen to the story. But yeah, no, being able to hear something again, I do like the Faraway Tree books and things like that. I was listening to it kind of with her as though, because I'd completely forgotten all about it, if I'm honest. So I was just listening to what and you can just hear her talking, go swish, 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 with what the trees say. And it's like, okay, because yeah, it's just magical actually hearing that side of it. But it's quite interesting because Kate Winslet actually reads it. So it's that voice as well, different to what I would have had Moonface sound like.
Do you it's the Faraway Tree, isn't it, where you hug the trees and press your ears against them to hear what they're talking about? Yeah. I remember hugging the trees to try and listen as a little one. I might have to do that tomorrow just to have a try, just to see if it works still. Jerry, does it work? Do the trees talk?
It does. You can listen to trees, yeah, and you can use kind of a stethoscope type thing to hear the inner workings of the tree. They will talk to you. If you're quiet enough, you'll hear them talking.
Wow. I've heard they talk to each other as well, don't they?
Yeah, so the mycelium network, they communicate with each other. I always say that when I'm leading my forest bathing workshops, like we have one of our invitations is to connect with a tree. And I always say, if you connect with one tree, essentially you're connecting with the entire forest, because yeah, they do communicate. But it's like it's when you sit quietly in the midst of a great tree, you can really, I guess, I don't know, your intuition flares up. You hear some things you might not hear otherwise. That's what I did for my writing journey as Lady Knows. I used to go down and sit in the woods amongst the trees. It's my little creative hotspot.
You're going back to Oxford now and Tolkien, and he's talking to each other, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe he spent a lot of time in the forest of Dean Tolkien. Yeah. So we don't know how much it influenced him, but quite a bit, I would imagine.
Yeah, with some of those scenes, the dark scenes and going through the woods and the owls and the creatures of the forest.
Yeah, definitely.
The dwarf breathes so loud I could have shot him in the dark. I love that line. I love the way in the films they kept the humorous lines in the films. In fact, they were quite true to the book, really, in a lot of the films, weren't they?
Yeah, which is why they had to be so long, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now all the dialogue is all exactly copied from the books. Thank you, honey. My bin.
Where you been?
Just come back. It's bin day tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, there's bin day. Yeah.
In comes his hand.
I think we should have this as a feature at for other book academy meetings that have some sort of theme or some particular book or something that we can carry on talking about for those that wish to.
Because it's kind of gone down and digressed, hasn't it? But it's quite nice to explore other, things along the same theme, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because it could go anywhere, like you say, Kaz. Yeah. Going back to Tolkien briefly, in the forest, he was an archaeologist enthusiast, and it's a private estate now. It's called Lydney Park, but it's got an old Roman temple there.
Yeah.
And it overlooks the River Severn. So when Tolkien was a young graduate, he came here as an archaeologist enthusiast, and he worked with the professional archaeologists for a while. But they found an old Roman tablet that had a cryptic message on it. So as you know, the Romans had lots of different gods, and Noddins was the river god, so they used to pray to him for safe passage on the River Severn. So the temple was Noddins' temple that overlooked the river. So they found this tablet that said, "O thy god Noddins, Sylvanus has lost the ring. Ill health shall befall all until it is returned to the temple of Noddins." So, we'll never know, but like this kind of this idea of this ring holds this power. Maybe that influenced him in some way and started to shape his story. We'll never know, like I say. But if you look up like Forest of Dean myths and legends, that story comes up about Tolkien being here. Because I have to do a myths and legends walk for Halloween around the forest, so I dig into all these old stories.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was here for his honeymoon as well.
I know it's a Scottish tale, but I don't know if you've got anything similar in the Irish folk tales. A Kelpie.
Kelpie, yeah. Yes, the seals changing, yeah.
Right.
Selkie, was it a Selkie in Irish mythology?
There's a Selkie, but the Kelpie is the horse-like one.
Or the horse one, yeah. There's a few there is a few of those. I'd have to dig them back out, but yeah, definitely in Irish mythology. Shapeshifters.
Yes.
Changing from animal to human, yeah. What was the seals used to change to? Was it Selkies, those ones?
It sounds familiar, actually.
I'm just quickly trying to see.
I think Frozen 2, which has the horse in it, that's based on a Kelpie.
Yeah, and just quickly looking now, Selkies are the mythological creatures that can shapeshift between seal and human forms. Yeah, so that was quite big on the west coast of Ireland. Actually, they would have been spoke about a lot.
Yeah, there's a few seals up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, the sea people are in a mermaid.
They do look very human-like though. When you see them, you think, "Oh, is that no, it's a seal," or you think, "Oh, it's a seal," and it's actually a person. They are very, very human-like in the water.
Yeah.
It's the way they pop their heads up, don't they, over the water, and just the head bobbing.
Yeah. They're pretty cute.
I was walking back from the house to the cabin to depart from in a moment. I heard our local owl hooting away, so I'm going to go and get that. So I can lie in bed and just hear it. Lady doesn't hear it, but I can hear just that.
But what noise is it making? Is it making a twit or twoo?
It's doing a hoot.
Screech,
just a hoot.
Owl.
I was going to say. So I learned that you have the females are shouting twit. I think is it, and the males are saying twoo. Because there's two animals that you get the twit twoo.
Yes, easier to remember. If you're hearing the hooting call, it's male. Only the male can hoot. But the twit or the quick call is male or female. But generally, it's a call and response.
Yeah.
The female calls, male responds.
Yeah, I learned that at Centre Park. See, when I take my daughter out of school next year, it's going to be educational.
Every day's a learning day.
Does the professor make a horrible screechy noise?
Yeah, loud screeching noise. Yeah, especially in mating season. It's just this long, rasping kind of screech. It's not as nice as the tawny call, is it? The barn owl screech, but yeah, it's something quite magical about hearing it as well, though. And sometimes it attracts wild females because they'll hear him and they'll fly in around his aviary, which is always exciting to see. He's an old man now, Prof. He's he's 18. I was saying this the last time, wasn't I? And I've been having, you said it, lady, like it is a real thing. It's called anticipatory grief, which I never realized. It's basically you're bracing yourself for what you know is going to come. And I have to battle this all the time. I said, stop, he's still here. Don't celebrate him. Don't be writing about it just yet. But I get it when I go home to Ireland as well and sit with my parents instead of just sitting and enjoying their company. I feel like, like this isn't always going to be here. Maybe it's because I don't see them as much and I notice the change more so. It's more profound. Maybe it's just my stage in life where I'm facing up to these things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
The circle of life, isn't it, really?
Yeah. But like that's why I really want to get that book done on Alex, because I really want to celebrate Prof and his legacy and what he's brought to me. And I was doing a WI talk a few weeks ago, and one of the ladies there was insistent that I should meet him. She said, "He needs a legacy, Jerry. You'll regret it if you don't have young owls from him." And I was like, he's a bit long in the tooth for that now, but I don't really want to breed birds in captivity unnecessarily. So, yeah.
You can capture him on video. That's the way.
Exactly. Yeah, he's all over that. Yeah, a lot of magic in my life.
Right. So, if anybody's got a suggestion what book we can talk about after the meeting next time, it might just be Oppenheimer Part 3, but you never know.
It is huge, this book, and what Jerry Stravey said is right. Like the print is so small on it as well. So even though it's a big book, you could say it was nearly double that because of the print, but it's quite interesting. I've just started. I'm about 20 pages in. It's interesting, and I've seen the movie, so yeah.
At least with an ebook, you can't feel intimidated because
it's always the same size.
You can't see how big it is.
And you can make the font 20 point if you want to.
And make the audio book interesting. But
Benji reads it. So right, I'm going to scoot. I shall see you all next month or before, if obviously in family. Have a great weekend, Kaz.
Thank you.
The show goes well.
Thank you. So do I. We wanted to come, but we can't. We're in Harrogate launching.
Yeah, we would.
Oh yeah, good luck with that, lady. That'll be really good.
Pray for good weather. Pray for good weather.
It's supposed to be good. So.
This is the Oppenheimer. I was looking at it's 26 hours and 30 minutes of reading time.
Oh, don't say that.
You mean of listening time?
Yeah, 26 hours. It's like a whole day.
Take it with you on the Fate, just in case there's not many people there, Kaz.
Yeah, when you do
that. Rose.
If the weather's bad, there might not be many people there.
If there's no one there, I'll be watching the dog show and the horses and whatnot.
You're not going to have time to watch the dog show because you're going to be selling all your beautiful tea towels.
I hope so. And I hope the book launch goes well.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Look,
are you getting
a little tower of Jaffa cake.
Oh, lovely.
Thank you.
Can you do the?
Oh yeah, it's our anniversary. It's our 10th anniversary tonight. So
oh, congrats.
Okay. You do the whole moon, half moon, total eclipse. So you can.
Saturday is going to be fine with good sunshine and 22 degrees. Kaz, you'll be fine.
Thank you. I hope so.
You live up that way, Kaz. Are you in Nottinghamshire? Is that where you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm actually 5 minutes down the road from Collingham. If you know where Collingham is, then I'm just down the road.
That's why I said earlier, do you mean Newark? Because I didn't realise Collingham actually ran a show as well. And I've stayed in Collingham loads of times. It's a sleepy little village, but...
Yeah, but the show that they do is actually quite big, believe it or not, for how small the village is. So, quite good.
Yeah, in Lincolnshire and Nottinghamshire, there are a few... Collingham's not that small a village, but they have Heckington's, what David was talking about a couple of years ago. They have a big show here in Lincolnshire. It's only 20 miles down the road from Collingham, but yeah, that's a whole weekend as well. So it's amazing what they get up to. So it's good. Okay, I'm going to head out because I've got to lock this place up. See you soon.
Yeah.
You Dennis, take care. Bye.
It's been great seeing everyone, and thank you for staying. It's been wonderful.
No, it's been fun.
Lovely to chat.
Okay.
Bye.
And good luck at the weekend.
I'm looking forward to hearing answers about Proust as well. So that's going to be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
All right then. Bye, Cherry. Send a date through and we can have a chat about your next.
Yeah, just a quick chat, just to give you an idea of options or what's the best route for me. That'd be amazing, Lily. Obviously you're busy now and I'm away next week, but a couple of weeks time maybe.
When you come back, Abby Rose will coordinate it because she's doing all the work at the moment.
Enjoy the weekend and pass on my best to Faith and what was the other lady?
Emma.
Yeah. Say hi to them for me. Okay, take care, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I just realised